Welcome to today's session. My name is Narmada and I'll be host of this session. I currently work as a tech art delivery manager at Accenture. So today's session is about transitioning from software engineer to a technical program manager role. And with us, we have Mina Kalyanaraman. She's a very well-known technical program manager with 12 years of experience. So before we start, a few ice-breaking questions. Use the chat window and please answer where you're joining from, and if you have to pick a choice between desktop, laptop, or tablet, which do you prefer to use? I'll quickly have. Awesome. So far we have a laptop and one tablet. And please make sure when you're actually responding in the chat windows, there is a little drop down saying two after the two. So make sure it's set to everyone so everyone can actually see your responses. So I see there's one from California, another one from Baltimore. Nice. So far laptop is to the winning. I'll do mine. I actually prefer laptop as well. Cool. So there's another response from, there's another vote for laptop. Toronto, okay. Looks like mostly everyone prefers laptop, unless someone wants to, prove this voting wrong and go for desktop or tablet. So far, I haven't seen a response for desktop. I think those are the age-old things now. Cool. We have another one from Toronto and laptop. Hi, Martha. Or they know, but you'd be surprised. In my current client project, they actually do provide desktops. I know. And the screens are as small as Instagram screens. We call them Instagram screens. There's one from Spain, connected using my mobile. Cool. All right. Yeah, for anyone else who's joining late, please do use the chat window. We can make this as much as interactive as we can. Now we'll start the session. Before we go into the today's topic, a few intro about what Women Who Code is. So our mission is empowering diverse women to excel in technology careers. That's our mission. And our vision is a tech industry where diverse women and historically excluded people thrive at every level. When I say it thrive at every level, it means every level, right from those. Sorry, I think there's been I heard a noise, but so when I say thrive at every level, it means anyone who is actually interested, like who hasn't been in a tech industry at all and they want to transition. This is the place you'll find all the open source notes, anything that you could access to, like videos, workshops, tutorials, and all that sort of things, and even experienced women who wants to move into executive levels. So this particular platform will help you actually achieve those goals. So that's been the vision roadmap. Now, as we go into the session, there's a few housekeeping things. We take our code of conduct very strictly, and if you're interested, you can go and read the full notes in the womenwhocode.com /code of conduct. So while you're actually typing any chat or asking for any questions in the Q&A channel, please make sure that you are respectful of the others and keep in view of the code of conduct. Now, we do have a couple of upcoming events, and you can access all our upcoming events by going through our Women Who Code events website link. And the next sessions we have are on beginner overview of data structure and algorithms, zero trust security for your APIs with MuleSoft. So again, as you can see, it's a featured one, so that's coming directly from our partner. So some of those you could always make sure hearing directly from the vendors is great, because you'll have that exclusive access to the features, how they will how they are releasing products and everything. Now, if you're interested or haven't been on Women Who Code before, I would very much encourage you to use these links. You can connect with us on our Slack, which is very active. We have a LinkedIn. We are active on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So please go ahead. If you haven't connected with us, you can connect with us there, and you'll have access to our upcoming events and everything. Now, before I hand over to Mina, a quick intro. Mina has been working as a tech program manager for the past 12 years. She has done her master's in IT, and she, like as the topic suggests, she has started her humble beginnings from software engineer and then moved to a technical program manager role. So this is her actually telling her experiences. Mina, over to you. I'll stop sharing my screen, and you can take over.
Hi, everyone. This is such a joyous opportunity for me because, I get a chance to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, that is program management and technical program management, of course. So let me just share my screen. Okay, let me know, is everyone able to see my screen? Okay, all right. So, this is such an interesting topic because for me, it's very close to heart. I started as a software engineer and then moved to technical program management. And I would love to, share my journey with you and add some insights that would be helpful to you. I hope it is helpful to you. And to begin with, I love to start with this quote. Let me read it. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle. I really resonate with this quote because that's what I did with my career. And, I want to appreciate all of you who are here today because you have taken one more step towards, the journey towards your journey towards becoming a TPM. With this, let me tell a little bit about myself. Narmada gave a very beautiful introduction. I'm a TPM with 12 years experience in the industry, and I started as a software engineer. I developed retail applications, but I always had this feeling, I was not very fulfilled. And once I had the opportunity to work with customers directly, and then I had a taste of the program management, and I really loved it. And that's what prompted me to study further. I did my master's from University of Washington and then later moved to mainstream program management and then to technical program management. I have worked in both big and small organizations at different capacities and worked in all stages of the software development lifecycle. I'm also a life coach, focusing on personal development through self-discovery. And currently I'm a mentor at Mentoring Tech, helping students navigate tech career. I'm very passionate about women empowerment. In my last company, I started the women's group across the company, and it really opened up my eyes to diversity and important topics that get missed in our day-to-day busy life. And I'm very much passionate about traveling, and if I have some free time, you'll find me baking. And personally, I believe empathy and kindness in program management is very important, and it needs to get the attention it deserves. because it really helps a program manager connect with their users and deliver more value. With this, I will move to the next topic, that is what really is program management, or what really is technical program management. So program management is the organized function of overseeing a group of several related projects that are linked together through a shared organization goal, which means that a lot of small projects that have a common goal, the team goals roll up to the company-wide goals. And program management is responsible for the consistent delivery of large-scale initiatives, and program managers oversee the delivery. And program management brings synergy, consistency, and greater visibility to stakeholders such that everyone is aligned, both at the team level and at the organization level. And T, obviously, it represents the technical nature of the program. And of course, the role definition and the scope varies with the program and the organization, the size of the organization. There are so many factors. Let's dig a little bit deep into those aspects in the coming slides. But before that, why program management, right? Because almost you guys are software engineers and you want to come into program management, but why, right? So I just want to let you know about the 3 important things that was why for me. Like, it's really fast paced, it's never boring. And you have the ability to impact on a larger scale. You have the ability to change people's life, literally, right? You can make the life of the engineer easy, and it is such a great feeling to do that. And it also has the social and interpersonal aspect. You get to speak with people, you get to witness the change that you bring forward, and it is very fulfilling for me. And that's what prompted me to move from software engineering to technical program management. I enjoyed software engineering, but this is more fulfilling for me. And if you're like me, you would definitely enjoy it. Let me talk a little bit about who is a technical program manager. So far, we saw briefly saw what a program management is. Now let's see, who is a technical program manager. So typically, a technical program manager works with a group of engineers, help them with day-to-day life, and help them deliver the program, help them deliver the feature and such. But that's not always the case. Program managers do much more than that. It's a really complex functional unit. For example, they drive really large, complex problems, and they also manage the timeline and resources for these multiple little programs rolling up to the major, mainstream program that then rolls up to the main roadmap. And program managers focus mainly on the productivity of the program. They also lead technical design and architectural discussions across cross-functional units, as well as across cross-functional organizations within the company. They manage risk and the quality of the program. They manage the release of the program. So risk, compliance, and governance is a key part of technical program management, especially if you're in the release side of things. And they manage all communications on the program. Or essentially all communications, above and below. They also facilitate the communication between technical and non-technical members, which is a key aspect of being a technical program manager. You will be able to translate the technical details to non-technical members. And when we say communication, then who are all the stakeholders that the program managers work with? Typically, they work with 1 or 2 product manager on a day-to-day basis, and then they work with the engineering team. They definitely work with the leadership team, operations, program sponsors, other subject matter experts, support team, and so many other teams. But these are all the key stakeholders that a program manager, technical program manager, work on a day-to-day basis. And the most important thing is, they strategically maintain the course of action so that the team meets the timeline. They also track and measure the performance objectives. They are in charge of the KPIs. So having said that, I want to also clarify this. Even though the title has the word manager in it, technical program manager is an individual contributor role. TPMs don't have a team of engineers reporting to them. Instead, they work with the engineers. Maybe when the career progresses and they become a principal or a group principal manager, maybe they will have other TPMs report to them. but they will never have engineers report to them unless they become engineering manager. And, so far we saw what a program is, who a program manager is. And, now let me tell a little bit about, the technical program lifecycle before we move on to, the skills and how you can get into that. And, we will also open up to Q&A. And in the meantime, I want to encourage any questions that you have, because I love this to be an interactive session. Okay. So as you can see here, the program itself, has 5 major phases. These are the 5 major phases, and there could be different multiple, sub phases within this program, depending on the organization and the company, and even the program that you are working for. The main thing is really the program definition. Sometimes it could be an idea. The program manager could even be involved in the ideation phase. And as soon as they get the sponsor, then they will roll out to the, the client collaboration, the requirements phase, and then move on to the implementation. And during the implementation, it's very important the program manager keep track of the timelines. For example, they could use tools like ship rooms to, make sure every stakeholder is aligned, and the effort and the progress is in time for the, estimated delivery. And then that comes to the delivery part of the program lifecycle. And the other key aspect is learning and closure. Sometimes these steps will be interchanged. It could be program closure, and then we'll have a retrospective, and then learning and feedback. But most of the times, program is an ongoing thing. So we have to always have this learning in mind. And we need to have this, retrospective and feedback, and feed that back into the processes. And that also, we have to keep in mind about the process optimizations. Let's take a moment here to see this cycle. So as you can see, I mentioned about the initiatives. And once the initiatives happen, once the budget is allocated, once the team is formed, then we move on to the client collaborations, establish relationship with the stakeholders, and then move to project management aspect of the program. Program managers are not project managers, but they do need to oversee the timelines, and step up, or become a project manager when they need. But it's not their it's not their full-time. It's not like a full-time activity. And then, there is this cross-org and cross-functional aspect of the program management, which is very, very important, because what happens is sometimes, we start a program, and that could be a different team in a totally different part of the organization who have already, established that program, but with a different domain. So what that means is, you could talk to them, you develop that relationship, and get their learnings from them, so that you could also do better, and then document these learnings so that you can pass it forward to the other teams. And then risk management, I briefly talked about that before. It is very, very important that program managers are always proactive and keep an eye on what is happening in the team, what is happening in the program, and sound the alarm whenever it's necessary. They are responsible for communicating this risk throughout the stakeholders and throughout the organization, such that, whatever necessary steps needed to maintain the timeline, or needed to, launch, there could be so many different scenarios, those could be taken. And program managers are, they need to take care of performance and metrics. And if you love data, this is a really good space, because, you are in charge of deciding what metrics you want, how you are going to collect it, and what are the analytics that you're going to perform. And the fun thing is, you get to decide what tools you want to, to do these analytics and metrics. It's very interesting, especially when you find something and then you incorporate that back to the process and to the program and see that improvement. And that comes to the process improvement aspect. And then the continuous iterations, it could be either in the program or in the process itself. And then the rollout. If you're a program manager who is in charge of rolling out features, then it is very, very important you do all these steps, so that you could make sure that the feature is rolled out on time. Apart from that, program managers, we are also coaches. We get a lot of opportunity to coach and train junior program managers or junior members. And we also, we can come up with really good tools and methodologies, which is very, very interesting. As I said before, program management is, such a fun space. It is never boring. And then you get to, work with the engineers and then have this deep technical discussions on design and architecture. So really, it's like it's a space where you get this 360-degree view, and you can understand what exactly is happening and also learn so much. There's so much value you can contribute and also gain so much value. And other interesting part is, you could also feed this input back to the product roadmap. You work with the product managers. Some of them, they could be non-technical, and you get to translate this technical architectural design decisions, or if that is constraint that you see, you get to point that out and then bring that to the team and then make them understand, or you can also understand. There are so many there is so much scope and possibilities when it comes to program managers, and when it comes to program lifecycle. And this program lifecycle could be adjusted based on the program that you run. And this is not an all exhaustive list of items, but this is very close to the standard one. I think that I downloaded a lot of information. Now, anyone have any questions, feel free to put in the chat. Narmada, please let me know.
Sure, Mina. Nothing so far, so we'll just keep going.
Wonderful. Okay, so now coming to the interesting part, so we saw the program manager. What is a program lifecycle now? So okay, you are hooked into program management now. So what is the next step? How your career will look when you are in program management space? So this is a typical one. Of course, it could change depending on the company and the organization and your liking. So once you become a technical program manager, you can then get promoted and be a technical program manager too. Both TPM and TPM2 are really individual contributors. You will not have anyone reporting to you. And then when you move to a senior TPM, your scope increases, and you may have other TPMs report to you. But in any of these scenarios, you will not have any engineering team reporting to you. Even if you have an engineer reporting to you, that would be for helping you with the tooling that we discussed before, tools that you want introduced into the program to increase the efficiency of the entire program itself. And then when you move to the principal technical program manager, and then your scope broadens so much, you would even have programs that spans an entire organization. It's such a big scope there. But mostly what I have observed and what I heard from other people who are in the space is that sometimes people try out the technical program manager space till they reach the TPM2. And then what they do is, either they transition to engineering manager position. In the sense, they work so much with the engineering team, they get that, technical acumen to be an engineering manager. Or they become a compliance manager because, as part of the TPM and as part of release TPM, you focus so much on risk, compliance, and governance. A lot of people, pivot their career and then they become compliance manager. Or some of them become like domain expertise manager. Here, what I mean is that, if you're in cybersecurity, you could be a security manager or a privacy and governance manager. So there are so many options. And then all of these might roll up to a principal level. And then, they could roll up to a director and VP and even CEOs. So, the scope for TPM is so much. I know, like, there is this tough time recession going on, but still the need for TPM is higher than ever now. So we saw all these things, right? So I just have a question for you guys now. What do you think are the skills having this information now? What do you think are the skills needed for a successful program or a technical program manager? Would love to see your comments.
There's one from ML saying good communication.
Mm-hmm.
Anything
Yeah,
else from the others? Networking and strong relationships with partners from Kriti.
definitely.
Organization from Martha. Technical plus people skills from Naina. Critical thinking from Denise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. These are all the key and the core program management skills. Anything else from anyone?
There's one from Vanessa just now. Actually, prioritization from Martha again, and adoptable communication and good holistic technical strategic perspective from Vanessa. Prioritization, time management from Puvi. Planning, estimating, forecasting from Denise.
Wow, it sounds like you guys are already a program manager. Yes, these are all the core skills that anyone needs to possess to be a successful program manager. So, I have.
There's sorry,
Mhm.
there's one last one. I think you'll like this one. Empathy and good communication from Rahmat.
Oh, I love this. I love this. Yes. The empathy and good communication. And definitely the empathy part, I want to emphasize on that because that's not talk that no one speaks about that as often as it deserves. So I love that. Thanks for mentioning it here. So, yes, these are all great qualities. And I also have few more to add. I'll talk about it in the coming slides. Thanks everyone for, chiming in. So the first one obviously is the technical aptitude because it's T in the technical program management. Definitely, if you're not from a software engineering background, you definitely need to have a solid foundational knowledge of IT infrastructure and how IT systems work. And you also need to have the sense of balance of how you're going to manage this project management role with the technical advisor hat, because with practice it comes, but without practice we often, initially for me at least, when I was transitioning, I always saw it from a software engineering lens, and I had to learn it to see it from a management lens. And also the ability to communicate effectively in both technical and non-technical terms. This is very, very important when you're transitioning from a software engineer to a TPM, because when we are a software engineer, we are in that circle where we don't need to explain technical things in a non-technical fashion. But when you come into program management space, your stakeholders, the technical knowledge of your stakeholders broadens, and you need to develop this aptitude where you can seamlessly talk about heavy technical stuff in a non-technical fashion, such that your users know what you're talking about, users get what you're talking about. And this goes without saying, like you need to have the ability to think and act like a software engineer, because there will be scenarios where you need to put your software engineering hat and debug something. You need to understand how to triage bugs. You need to know the severity of the bugs if it is not fixed. So these are all the key things that you need to have if you want to be a TPM. And if you are in a software engineering background, I have no doubts that you would possess all these things. The next thing is conflict resolution. This is a tricky thing when you're moving from an SC to a TPM role, because in a TPM role, the main aim is to work with a group of people or group of team in the same organization or in different organization, and make sure shepherd them to move towards a common strategic goal. And when we do that, it's conflicts are bound to happen because people have different styles. People have different knowledge background, they have different goals, their perceptions, their priorities are different. So it is very, very important TPM knows how to handle conflicts. And one of the models that I really love and I have employed before is the Thomas Kilman conflict resolution model. And this model is based on how assertive you are and how empathetic you are, and based on that you take the decisions. Like, for example, if you are in the competing mode, you basically do not compromise at all for your opponent's view. And at the end is more empathetic but less assertive, that is accommodating. You accommodate and then you say yes to your opponent's views. But the good or the most helpful one is the compromising way of resolving conflicts, where you try to find a win-win situations. Especially when you are a program manager, this is important to learn how you can achieve this fifth type of conflict resolution method. There are so many information and resources available, and there are so many different conflict models available, but this I feel is it would be very natural for us, at least for me, because this you can apply not only in professional setting but also in a personal setting. So I really like this model, and I thought I will also share this with you. The next is facilitation. Yeah, I saw some of the comments, we could relate it to facilitation as well, right? Because, TPMs or any program manager is essentially a leader who is facilitating the team members to move from one point to the another and making sure along the way that, we are all aligned to the strategic business goals. And it is very, very important that TPMs know some of the key facilitation tools like active listening, team mood evaluation, because I know when you're in a group setting, when you're conducting a meeting, you need to know what is happening in the team. And I know you need to evaluate the mood, and then based on that, you need to take certain actions and also be adaptable and flexible. TPMs need to remember that processes are made for people. So it is okay to adjust the process, and it is actually important to audit the process and adjust the process in a routine fashion. And this is another tool or an approach that I employ and is very useful, is the AND approach. Essentially what you do is, you're in a meeting and you have a group of people discussing about the roadmap and how they are going to estimate it. So as a TPM and as a facilitator, you bring in this mindset where you say, right, hey folks, like you're talking about this bigger roadmap, and can you please share certain details how you're going to achieve that? So like, focus on one topic and then diverge and then focus and then diverge. So these are some of the methods. And, you also need to be really forceful and also know when you need to be quiet. For example, you have a tight deadline and there is some constraints. You need to know how to negotiate either with the engineering team or with the product. Most often than not, it would be within product team, and get some time for the engineering, because TPMs are advocates for engineering team in typical settings. And also need to know when you need to intervene, like when you need to say that, hey, you need to have this effort estimation in this Jira ticket. And you need to know when you can just let it go. If it's a research spike and your team is really struggling to, it's a new code base and your team is really struggling to find that effort, you need to understand that. You need to show that empathy here also, and then you need to let it go. But make sure as a TPM, you note that and have it as a learning experience for the next planning meeting. So these are some of the things that I have employed and I found it useful, the AND approach. And if you're trying to, transition to a TPM role, I strongly suggest, you look into this approach if you're not already practicing it. Okay. The next thing, my favorite is empathy in program management. So as I said before, TPMs work with people of different background, different cross-functional units. And it is extremely valuable for a TPM to develop the rapport and gain the trust so that they can make sure they do their job well and also help the team move towards the final goal. TPMs are leaders who lead with empathy, because when you are leading with empathy, your team will feel safe with you, they will trust you, and that is an emotional connection. So when you go and ask your engineer, when are you going to complete this ticket, the engineer will tell you what exactly is happening, instead of just telling you some arbitrary value. You will know why it is not being done yet. Similarly, it will help you to understand the needs of different stakeholders. As a TPM, I said before, you work with the leadership team, you work with the product team, you work with the customers. Each one has different needs. And with empathy, when you apply that, you will understand their core needs. For example, when I was working with a customer, they did not, complete the respective feature development on time so that we could not integrate. But when I spoke to them on phone, I directly called them. I directly called the director of integration. I spoke to them. I spent time, and then during the conversation, the director mentioned that they did not get approval from their end customer to go ahead with the integration. And that important piece of information actually helped solve a lot of problems, and we were able to achieve that integration. So that's why I say, empathy is very important. And as software engineer, we don't get a lot of chance to interact with different cross-functional teams. So if you're going to transition to TPM, I suggest, you look into this and strongly develop this. So let me just read this because it is very important. The effort you put into understanding your client and your team's needs is directly proportional to the success rate of your program. At the end of the day, program manager's aim is to make sure the program is a success. You and the team and the entire, the org achieve the goals. And empathy will help you do that. Okay, so, we saw so many different skills. I have a summary of, skills. So TPMs, with empathy, we build trust, we have the technical expertise, and we need to be data-driven, match the data with the anecdotes so that you can get to the root cause. And that's what comes to the systematic thinking or system thinking. That is, TPM needs to understand why certain things are happening rather than just going by the symptoms. It is, have some tools in your tool belt like 5 whys method, where you dig deep enough that you understand why certain things are happening. And also have this, learning mentality, because we have the ability to influence this learning culture across the team, across the cross-functional units that we work with. And we need to know, a lot of people, we got this time management and negotiation. Yes, that's very, very important. User-centeredness, project management, prioritization, leadership, effective communication, influencing without authority. TPMs are enablers. We need to influence with authority. So these are the key skills that a TPM needs to be successful. Okay, so far we saw a lot of things: program management, who is a TPM, and the skills, the life cycle. So I just want to tell that, if you're going to be a TPM, develop the servant leader mindset. Always think, you are an enabler, and the bigger goal needs to be in your, in your attitude and in the way that you do things. That comes to the next question, right? Does all teams require technical program managers? Say you're, you have a contact and they have a opportunity, but does their team require this TPM role? Answer is, it depends, because not all teams require TPM. And generally, a TPM is brought into picture when there is no clear owner, and to act as an advocate for engineering team. And some situations like, onboarding program, you act as the face of the product internally and to increase the adoption of the product. So, it really depends. And I know the scope also changes with program and with the size of the organization and with the requirements. So we really cannot say that, there is no framework that says that, this particular team or this particular feature needs a TPM. It all depends on the requirement and the needs of the organization and the team. And the other part is technical program management for you. So how can you know if you will like TPM roles? So, I have a list of characteristics here, which I have observed in many people who are successful TPMs, and which a lot of people have also told me. So this is a consolidated list. So if you have a very good communication skills, and you love new technology, and if you're from a software engineering background, these 2 points, new technology and curious about IT systems, you should already possess that. And you get energy from getting things done. Like, for example, even in personal life, I love to be organized. I love to have a plan. I love to control the chaos, whatever it is, even if there is a sudden trip, I love to control the chaos. And I will have a to-do list. I love, checking things off that. So it just gives me so much energy. And I thrive in ambiguous, chaotic environment. And similarly, a TPM, any TPM thrives in ambiguous, chaotic environment. And if you have that quality, you will also. And you are a people person. You get energy from working with people. And you love solving problems collaboratively with people. And in general, people trust you to get things done. So if you possess these characteristics, you will definitely like TPM roles. Even if you don't possess some of these characteristics, you can always develop them. There are so many resources and avenues available. And I will also talk about, a brief action plan on how you can, get into a TPM role. So essentially a TPM, just think that, you are the CEO of your programs. You advocate for your programs, whatever it needs to get your programs to success. This should be your mentality. So as I said, we have, I put together a small action plan, which I also employed, and I know, a lot of people I have coached, have employed this. It's 3 phases. The first phase is, education, domain expertise, and networking. In education, I would say that, if you're transitioning either from software engineering or from any other role, I would say, first gather the prerequisites. Gather the prerequisites for the role that you want, because as I said, TPM's role and the scope and the requirements vary so much. So find the job that you love, find 3 or 5 jobs, gather all the prerequisites, and then see if you can do some certifications, if you can, upskill yourself. There are so many, and if you're from software engineering background and you don't have any management experience, I suggest you do some courses on project management. The next thing is, domain expertise. So you need to have a basic understanding of Agile, how Agile works from management perspective. You would have already worked in Agile setting, but from a software engineering perspective. So I suggest, you learn about, how it works from a management and a product perspective. And there are so many certifications for Agile that you can do. And if you choose certain domains like cybersecurity, you can do some certifications related to that. So this will actually strengthen your knowledge as well as your portfolio. And the other important aspect to get into a TPM role is networking. There are so many events and meetups. I suggest you attend them, learn from the people who are already there, and leverage LinkedIn. People are, generally, if you approach them, they will share some tips, or if there is an opportunity, and build that, rapport with the people who are already in this field, so that you can learn from them, and then you can reach where you want to go. This is phase 1. Next is phase 2. This is training. Like, if you don't have any management experience, I suggest, you do some volunteering. There are so many opportunities available, or you can take some side projects, or even in your current role, you can ask for any management responsibilities, such that, you get a taste of what program management is. Because that's what I did. Before I transitioned to program management, I asked for, a program management responsibilities in addition to my software engineering responsibilities. For a few months, it was, challenging, but I would say it was worth it. And then seek opportunities. Research the requirements. What are all the requirements that are available in the market today? And based on the job requirements, you can find the skills that you want, and then you can update your resume, develop those skills, update your resume, review your resume, and apply for jobs. And do as many mock interviews as you can. There are so many avenues available today that you can use to do mock interviews. And make sure you prepare well, because program management touches in product, engineering, support, strategy, leadership, business, and operations. So make sure you know all these areas, because This is not just about getting the job. It's about, how you are going to be successful after you get the job. So make sure you have that knowledge. And once you have that, clearing the interview is a piece of cake. And, once you do all these things, I'm sure that, you will land your first TPM job. And with this, I'm going to end the session today, but if you have any questions, either during the session or afterwards, feel free to reach out to me, connect with me in LinkedIn also. And if you have any other help regarding, any transition to program management role, you can ping me in LinkedIn. I'm happy to help you. Thanks.
Thanks, Mina. There's a couple of questions, so we'll just start with some of them that I see in the chat window, and there's one in the Q&A section. So the first one is there's a question from, I think, Denise, asking whether this is recorded. So just it is recorded, so the video will be available after a couple of days in our YouTube channel. Now, the first question is, one second, I'm trying to open this chat window, make it big.
So I see one, it's about, yes, ton of meetings, especially in the Zoom world. There are days where my calendar is completely booked, but, you could always organize, you could have non-meeting days. So it's manageable, I would say that.
So there's one from Kriti before. How different is engineering manager tasks to that of a program manager? I see there are few overlaps.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is actually, it's a good question. Engineering manager, the obvious differences: engineers report to engineering manager. Engineering manager directly involves with what tasks to be done during the sprint planning, and how the task is done, the quality of the task, everything. The engineering manager is directly involved. And when it comes to TPMs, either collaborate with the engineering managers to help them achieve their goals, or they will also directly sometimes collaborate with engineers in certain organizations. But in most startups, it's not encouraged, because we want the engineers to focus on the coding instead of spending their time in meetings and other KDs. But in case TPMs directly collaborate with the engineers, they will help them with clearing any roadblocks that they have, or any resourcing. Or for example, I have helped engineers who didn't have database access, or you didn't have certain issues, and I had to debug. So it really depends. But engineering manager is directly involved with the engineering team, and he manages the team itself and the day-to-day work of them.
Oh.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So what should a developer do to move to this role?
As I said, the first thing is your passion. So to test that, I would say that, speak with your manager or your lead and get some management related activities in your backlog, so that you can test it out. And once you do that, the next thing is to develop some project management skills. There are so many free courses available. You can just go through them in your free time and then see if that is something that you like. And depending on the team, nowadays, almost all companies are agile. So learn about agile, like Scrum Master, especially Scrum Master, because most TPMs, they also act as Scrum Masters. So these are some of the initial steps that you can do to get a taste of program management, as well as it will help you to move, accelerate your path forward.
Oh, the next one is from Rahmat. I have a software engineering background as well, but I'm thinking to move to a technical program management. I was able to get a junior TPM role, and that I wanted to ask, what are some of the things I can focus in order to be able to add value? And I think there's also a question like where the extended question. Can you share some of the tools you use in your role as a TPM?
Yes. Yeah. So let me answer it one by one. So the first thing is, first of all, congratulations, you made the change. And for junior TPM, It really depends on the size of the team that you have. But I suggest, you speak with your manager and have a career plan set up for you. Because, depending on your team, you might want to either focus on project management skills or agile. Since you're already, like you're already working, you're already a TPM, I suggest, you get the direction from your manager, have a 3-month plan, 90 days plan, 6 months plan, and based on that, get that, acquire that skill. And once you do that, you can also get some more additional task, or look out for opportunities in your own team and step in when you see those opportunities. And for that, you need to be aligned with the roadmap and what's happening in your team and around your team. If there is any, priority changes, you need to be aware of that so that you can make sure you're also, you have that skill ready when that happens. So these are some of the things that you could do, immediately. Because, broadly, I cannot say you do this or not, because, you're already in the role and you can leverage that role to move forward. The next part of the question, I believe, is what are some of the tools that I use? Okay. Can you be a little bit specific on, tools for what? Like, because there is conflict management, like tools like Jira and UX methodologies and tools. So is there any specific area that you want me to answer?
I think I'll wait for them to respond in the chat, in the Q&A or the chat window. While that happens, there are a couple of more questions. Is it a huge learning curve from dev to TPM?
I won't say it's a huge, and also it depends on, what type of dev work you are doing. Because if you're already interacting with the TPM as part of your day-to-day work, you already know what they do. So at that time, and if you already have that passion, it won't be a huge learning curve. But there are devs who are, heads down, they only that type of role, and they have not interacted with the TPM at all, and they don't know how their day-to-day activities of the TPM are, then you need to spend some extra time, and that could be a little bit of a learning curve there. But there are so many resources available online that you can read and get an idea. And then, I say connect with your peers who are TPM, and then you will know whether it's a huge learning curve or not. In general, if you're already at the technical aspect, it should not be a huge learning curve.
Oh, I think this next question will also help with the non-technical aspect. How much business knowledge a TPM need?
No, business knowledge is essential. We translate the technical aspects to the non-technical folks, right? So business knowledge is needed because you need to associate how a technical decision is going to impact the business delivery. So business knowledge is definitely needed. And most of the business knowledge are very domain specific and program specific, right? And if you want to be a TPM and you see a scope in your team, I suggest, you learn about the business, you learn about the roadmap so that the transition will be easier for you. And, if you're a software developer, I would say, focus on the whole epic or a feature level descriptions, not just on the user story level, so that is also another way you can develop that business knowledge.
That's a great answer, Mina. Next one is, what's the difference in stress level from engineer to TPM? I feel like TPMs are usually incredibly stressed out. I realize this depends on company and team.
That's so true. Yes, depends on company and the team and the culture. Definitely the culture of the, the company and the team you're working for. Since, TPMs touch so many different areas and they collaborate with so many different people and competing priorities, I cannot say that, the stress level for a TPM or engineering manager is higher. I cannot compare that because they're not similar. But what I will say is there are so many moving parts generally for a TPM. And, as a TPM, you need to be able to control that chaos. And once you do that, it's not as much stressful as it might seem.
That's cool. I think Rahmat, she has come back with the question on the tools. She was after tools you use for planning, process, release management, if that's your domain.
Yes. Yes, for planning, I know I have used so many different planning tools based on the organization and the culture there. I've even worked on a purely waterfall, team and a company. There I was, primarily using this huge Gantt chart, Microsoft projects, and then in purely agile, I've just used, Excel to have a rough sketch of a timeline, and we just went on developing iteratively. And as far as the processes, in all the programs that I have worked, right, the processes have been heavily customized for the programs. And I like that, and I think that adds more value because, as I said, processes are for people. Whatever framework and process you see, you have to always think, whether that will work for that particular team. Because, people come with different background and knowledge base. They may not be inclined to follow the process. So then you have to modify that process. So there's no one single answer for the process part of the question. And as far as release management, I use tools and methodologies like essentially, release management in itself is an entire domain. You need to be involved from start to finish. And to tracking, you can use, Azure DevOps, you can use Jira, or, in DevOps also has this ability to track progress, and you can get the data, and you can generate analytics and metrics and reports based on that. Those are some of the things that I have used in the past. And definitely other tools like, ship rooms, war rooms, bug bashes. These are some of the things that you can use when it comes to release management.
Awesome. There's 3 last questions. In view of the time, we'll just take them quickly. How much business knowledge the TPM? We did cover that one. What are the best online certificates to target as a potential TPM?
So depends on what kind of certificate you want to get. You already have a software engineering background and you want to get an agile background, I would suggest you can get Agile Scrum Master certification. It will, it is relatively simple, and if you already worked in a Scrum team, you would already know most of it. So, and the cost is also very, it's not high for Scrum Master, and it will put you in top buckets for the TPM candidates in the TPM candidates. And other than that, I would suggest, take some courses on leadership, empathy-driven leadership, analytics and metrics. So those are some of the areas that you can really learn and get certifications. And if you're focusing on any particular domain, there are so many accreditations and credentials that you can get for those domains. You can also try those, credentials.
Cool. This is the last one. How to craft the resume to get an interview as TPM when the only roles I got were software engineering. Even though I show some TPM responsibilities, recruiters only want me to get into software engineer interviews.
I see. Yeah. So, even I faced this problem when I initially, I was applying for TPM positions. In the company that I was working, I had this title as software engineer, but I also took on some additional responsibilities of a TPM, right? But when I came out of the company and then in the market, when I was trying, recruiters were asking me to apply for software engineering roles because you have a bulk of experience in that area. And that's very attractive, especially software engineering role is very, very attractive. So I would suggest, you leverage that experience and add some, management skill set and experience on top of it, like certifications. You can do certifications, Scrum Master certification, and add that. It will add great value because, you already have the technical knowledge. You need to show how you, your management skills. There is PMP certification, but even for that, you need to have some management hours. So you can volunteer somewhere as a project manager or as a program manager in the site, and you can get that and put it in your profile. So once you showcase this technical and a combination of management skills, I'm sure you would get calls for, program management. Because as I said before, It's not about tailoring your resume just for the role. It's about how successful you will be after you get into the role, right? And to do that, you need to actually have these skills. So, depending on the jobs that you apply, all the best to you. Please, apply these insights. I hope it's helpful to you.
Thanks, Mina. There's one more question, but I would suggest, keeping in view of the time and everything, we'll take it. Maybe it's best to take that offline. Vanessa, I would suggest reaching out to Mina or the others on the, list attendees who hasn't been able to get their questions. If you have any further questions, please reach out to Mina on LinkedIn, connect with her, and she's more than happy to help you out. Thanks, Mina. Thanks for taking time. I know it's too late. For those who don't know, it's at around about 2 o'clock for her, early in the morning where she is in. Thanks for taking time and doing this wonderful session with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and I wish everyone all the best in their TPM journey. And please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do what I can to help you.
Thanks all. You have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.